Hey, come on. I need to go to your
Let's see if it's working.
Okay. Should I go over here? See myself on my own different tab. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
I don't know if that's the new one or the old one.
It's hard to tell because there's a lag time.
Yeah, that's the same. Okay, yeah. That's the old one. Because you make the same date, I can't tell.
Well, the other one went to 4 minutes, so, and then stopped. This new one is at 34 seconds. Hey, Steph, talk to me.
One. Still the old one. Link is not working. Goes to the old video. No, can I say one thing? If you go to that live video now, you can't share and you can send it to me and I can go ahead and send it to Kim and Michelle and everybody.
I don't want, those people aren't the ones that are important. You guys are like freebies. This is for the people that are paying most. You guys can like watch and interact, but
I could send it to Lisa Stephanie and she could send it to Mario.
Now these are active where they ask questions. It's the
that's
live
what I mean. You send me the link, I send it to them, then they will then
it works. She's saying it's working.
Up.
Okay, guys. All right, I bet that was interaction. You probably heard G-Man and I over here.
That's not working.
All right, guys. You can hear me, Stephanie? It's going and flowing. Going and flowing. Howdy, howdy, howdy. All right, now let me get back to my questions. Okay, Michelle. Yes, I'm back. Hi. All right, let's do this. All right, hopefully you guys watched the video that I did with G-Man because I was talking about the moon and the eclipse, which interestingly enough, Jeannie, whenever Jeannie gets here, Jeannie sent me some questions and I did not really look at them other than I saw moon. Now, today, whenever I pulled them up and was looking at them, they match nicely with that video that I did with G-Man today. So, hold on, G-Man's getting off the air mattress.
Hi, everybody.
So it's a little bouncy.
Nye and I are in bed together.
Hello? Yes, I'm in bed. I'm in bed with another man. Okay. Let him bounce his way off, because it is kind of a bouncy bed.
Okay.
All right. Okie doke. Now, let's get back to stable here. Let me go back to the emails.
Laying on the couch. How cute.
Is she tangled? Is that why she was whining?
I guess she's whining inside. So you want me to close the door and let her off the leash?
Yeah, please. Alrighty then. So as I was saying that y'all couldn't hear me, I'm in my little apartment, and a lot of today, the day was warm enough that I could put Inca on a really long leash and leave the front door open so she could go in and out like she does at home. So she's much happier. Plus, G-Man gave me the money to take her to the vet, and she got medicine, and she's a lot better. So, yay. Yeah, that's how bad it was. I took her to a doctor and gave her medicine, if you can believe that. Okay, now we're going to go into topics that Jeannie sent me, and then if we have time, we're going to go into an email and go into some questions that Jonathan brought up too. All right? So Jeannie writes, the moon. I've heard that the full moon is when energy is harvested from the earth. Can you talk about this? Yes. Now let me say the rest of it. Does it harvest both good and bad energy? Is it a negative structure put in place to block us? What does an eclipse do when the moon blocks the sun? Do energetically to the earth / us? What does it do to the energetically to the earth and us? Okay. First of all, Yes, the Earth, I mean, the moon originally was a seeding device, and it had everything that you can imagine to seed throughout this game, 4D and 3D, um, to put life on planets. Then the bad guys grabbed it and they broke it, and then they used it to manipulate energy. I think manipulate energy is a better way of saying it. I think just harvesting energy is way too simplistic for what it does. Does it harvest energy? Yes. Does it harvest good and bad energy? Yes. But it changes energy, so it will harvest the bad energy. It will harvest energy and transform it, transmute it, merge it into energy that they can use or ingest, basically. So, yes, they did take my friend and break her and use her against Gaia. So that is why I've had a very hard time being out and looking at the moon until my ayahuasca experience. Okay. So basically, yes. Stephanie, if you could get a message to everybody on WhatsApp that I'm back on and it's working, and everybody else send a message to the crew. Let them know that I'm back on. Okay, so it it wasn't, and the moon wasn't a negative structure. They broke it and made it into a negative structure from your perspective, or you can look at it that it was a part of the 3D experience. It was necessary in order to assist with getting the vibrations of Gaia, Earth, down to where they wanted to experience it in 3D. So, is that good or bad? Well, ultimately, it's what everybody wanted, so it was a good thing. But does it translate as bad from our perspective? Well, kind of, yeah. But we're trying not to do bad or good. And I know you've got to use those words, and I will too, but I will always kind of couch them with softness. So we use the words good and bad, but we don't really mean good and bad other than to simply identify and be able to talk. Okay. Let's see. And I did go over the eclipse, and basically when the moon blocks the sun, then when there's no light from the sun or the moon and it's blocked, then it allows all the other energies from around to not be transmuted or diluted, and you'll get this whoosh of other feelings from other vibrations around this whole game and really beyond. When the sun is up, a lot of that is controlled. So it'll be a completely different feeling. It won't be a bad feeling, it'll be a different feeling. Different energies are allowed in for a short period of time, but there are a lot of them, especially when the sun is eclipsed. And the moon does it. So even in its present form, when it eclipses the sun, it kind of worked to their disadvantage because it still helps to raise the vibration of the planet because for a few moments, not for very long ever, but when the sun is eclipsed, then all these other energies will come in and they are at play on our planet. And that's a good thing. Eclipses are a good thing, even though they feel very, very overwhelming, especially if you're sensitive. Hi, Shelly. Hi, Shelly, Shelly. Especially if you're highly sensitive, the eclipses, for me, the eclipses can feel massively overwhelming because the sun is really good about kind of taking a bunch of those energies that are coming into Gaia because the sun is a protector of Gaia, the masculine version part of Gaia. So the sun will protect from a lot of those energies, kind of sift them through and put them in order and make them more palatable. But when the sun is eclipsed, all the energies from all over hit the planet wherever the sun is shining. That's why it moves around the planet like it does when it's eclipsed. It only hits certain portions. And in those moments, all of the energies from beyond are allowed in, and they're not allowed in for very long. You can sort through them, accept them, don't accept them. Then the sun comes out, kind of tones it all out down again. And the same thing is true with the moon. Because, yes, the moon does have energies, but even with what they did to the moon, They still couldn't completely mess things up because the moon, what they did, it still um, takes the energies from the sun and bounces them back to the earth in a just different way. So they couldn't completely control that because all of its mechanisms, it's all machines. So they couldn't completely control that. So when the moon is eclipsed, um, other energies are allowed in. It's really complicated, but just understand that when there's eclipse of the sun or the moon, and at this level where we are now, the moon and the sun are our friends. They're helping us because of the vibration that we're at. We're way higher than the Illuminati now. They're not even a part of our game. So when they're either one of them are eclipsed, new information, new vibrations come in. People talk about being downloaded with information. I don't think that's necessary. A bad way of terming that. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, but you don't have to be downloaded. You could accept it or not accept it. It's not required download. Yeah, you can blow it off. Um, the full moon, the full moon is really more the when we were at the lower vibrations, the full moon is what the bad guys use the most. So you've heard that, everybody goes crazy on a full moon. That's because the moon was their systems of control were the most powerful when the moon was the fullest. So they would be less and less efficient the less light bounced back to Earth. So historically, up till recently, full moons have brought bad things. But if you vibrate high enough, then the full moon flips it on their ear because they're not monitoring above certain vibrations. So once you get above certain vibrations, then you could start using that bounce back of what they're doing because they don't do it very well and they're doing it with a lot more vibrations than they know. So you can take advantage of those higher vibrations that are being bounced with their technology. So basically, you can use it against them. And I have found this to be true for me. Now, this is all new data today, guys. Used to be full moons were not a good thing for me. I didn't care for them at all. I was a nurse. I was around a lot of people that were sick. I was in the ER. A lot of bad things happened in the full moon. And I was a part of that at my lower vibrations. But when I raised my vibrations, especially after ayahuasca and I understood that whole deal with the moon and my relationship to the moon, now it's a huge advantage. But when the moon is full, the vibrations are gentler than when the sun is full. And the same is true with an eclipse. When an eclipsed moon is eclipsed, I don't know why, but the vibrations that are in alignment with that situation, they're just softer. I don't know why. It's hard to explain. But when the sun is eclipsed, there's some massive energies because our sun is directly connected to the central sun of the game, and the central sun is directly tied to source. So the sun is powerful, 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 whereas the moon is an entity that's kind of flip flopping around in the 3D, 4D aspect of the game, whereas the sun is tied to all aspects of the game and has always been, kind of a pillar as it came down. It always stayed really direct line to source. So sun, what's that's the reason why they say what they say. That's why they don't want you in the sun. They have you put on SPF 35. They tell you you're going to get skin cancer. They tell you to put on sunglasses. They don't want you in the sun. They have people, it's better if you have a job in an office because you make more money to get you out of the sun. Then they want you to work 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week to keep you out of the sun because the sun can can fix a lot of things. You I cannot even tell you. Water is magic, clean water is magic, getting into the sun is magic. Stargazing, I mean, sun gazing is magic. It will make all the difference in your life. Absolutely, without a doubt. And I've told you guys this before. Anything that they have overkilled the danger of probably means that it is good for you. I'm not going to blanket statement. Hi, Mario. Hi, Kim. I'm not going to blanket statement that, but yeah, for the most part, Stephanie, wouldn't you agree? And Michelle, I would say that that's pretty close to being accurate. That as a general rule, if they're really trying you to keep you away from something, it's probably because it's good for you. And the more they try and spend effort to do that, the more good for you it is. And they've spent a great deal of time getting humans out of the sun. And even the ones that are in the sun, like let's say the desert countries, those countries are so wiped out from wildlife and trees and greenery that they convince them that they need to be covered up, even though they're in the sun all the time. Probably, if they get out of the sun and take those clothes off, that country would probably green up really, really fast. But it's a way of hi, Cindy. That would be Bailey for everybody that's reading. How you doing? Yeah, the that's a whole part of getting to 3D too. And as we talk about this getting out, and you lose that being angry at them, this is just a matter of us walking out. We don't care what they're doing. We don't care why they did it. We don't care what they did it for. That's not the point. The point is pretty much everything was done to get everybody down into 3D. That was accepted. We knew that before we came here. So now the question is what to do to get out of it. That's the only thing we're worried about. Leave the rest of them to their games. They can be afraid of the sun if they want. It's none of our business. Remember, it's none of our business. Okay, so now let's go on to the next one. Gaia heading for a pole shift. Okay, really, what Gaia is doing is as she raises, as I've said before, the whole planet will become the same temperature all the way around. There will still be areas of the top of the mountains that will have snow, and you could still experience. Of course, in 5D, you can create snow anywhere you want as long as you've got a group that agrees with you in the matter. But the planet will be as it did before it dropped to 4 and 3D. So the planet will be about 70, 72 degrees all the way around. And so there will not be any poles. So for what we're talking about for this group, the poles will disappear or they'll merge into one, therefore not having poles at all. So it's not a matter of them shifting at all. It's a matter of them disappearing or merging back into a part of oneness. So they're going to defractal. Part of the poles to begin with was a part of the fractaling that happened to get the planet down into 3 and 2D. I mean, 4 and 3D. That's why that happened. That will go away. So the poles will disappear. They won't flip. Now there are timelines with pole flipping because that's a part of the end of the world scenarios. There's a lot of energy into the poles flipping and that causing havoc on the planet and death and doom and destruction. So are those timelines there? Yes, they absolutely are. There's been too many people worried and sending energy regarding them for them not to be. But we won't be on them. If you're with me and you're listening to me and talking to me, you will not experience pole shifts because we will not be looking at it that way. It will simply be the poles will away. And yeah. All right. Next one, she said, in studying other people's NDEs, there has been talk of light cities, refugee cities, and locations during the shift. It has been described as like a light dome that surrounds a person or location based on their vibration, and it is protection from everything happening during the shift. It has been said that these people will become the light of the world and guide others. Can you access and talk about this? Will a person vibration? Okay, let's do that last one later. Okay, well, I can see why they would describe it as that. To me, it's not light cities at all. It's areas of the planet that all inclusively, the land, the animals, and the people that live there they just get to 5D first. And there are two places that I know of right now, and that's an area of Costa Rica and Kauai. I know those two for sure, and they have been able to access and be in 5D, the lower levels of 5D, for I think several years. Now, Maria's daughter lives in Kauai, which does not surprise me at all. There have been, I think, Wayne Dyer and a bunch of those people. They did a big thing together in Kauai. It tends towards that kind of situation, but it's not a separatist type thing. There isn't a dome city with specialty people. People go into these areas, they go out of these areas. Some people go in and they stay and they live there. Still within these areas, you can be in 4D and be living right next door to a 5D person. You just won't run into them if you're in 4D and they're in 5D in the moment. But these are ranges, and there are people that are in the lower 5D that their range is broader and they will dip into 4D and up to 5D, down to 4D and 5D. Because these areas of the planet, the planet just does not go bonk bonk. It has gone gradually, and all areas of the planet will get there at different ways and stay there in different times, just like people do. So different people would get there. Well, the planet's a big place, and she waffles back because it's all vibration. It's not solid. So you don't think of like solid Earth with solid cities with domes on them. But there are areas that will be that already are and that will grow, and then there'll be another one that starts to happen because of the people that are there, the animals, the vibration, the history, and it'll start to raise. And eventually, these areas will eventually start merging. And when they've all merged all the way around, that's when Earth is completely in 5D. At that time, the ones on the other timelines will see the destruction of Earth. Either the countries will blow the Earth up, a meteor will hit, uh, Armageddon will happen, Jesus will come back, a spaceship will take him off, and the earth will be blown up. Whatever scenario, the earth will be destroyed in their scenarios. And they'll either die on the planet that they perceive is still there, or they will be off planet in a spaceship of some kind, or they'll be floating above with Jesus or whatever to another place. But nonetheless, when all of those little areas get they start merging. When they all have merged, then that's when Gaia is completely out of 4D. Now, there's not a separate group of people that will lead the way that are light workers. That's almost a light, the leaders of the way. It's not the way it'll happen. You'll be in the moment for a second. Somebody will be staring at you. They'll want to talk to you more. You'll talk to them. They will vibrationally pick it up and become better at it, but there will be no leader of the way. There will be no group of the way. Now, the exception to that rule is on the way, the pigeons will try to grab hold of this and they will try to sell this city of light, dome city thing, and they will make themselves these light people. If you fall for that, then you will probably be on one of their spaceships as the Earth leaves to go to 5D, because this is not 5D. None of that is 5D. The concept, like most everything that they do, the concept is based on truth, and then they twist it into a control feature or a I'm better than you feature. Anything that looks like control or I'm better than you, guaranteed is not 5D. Ever, 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 ever. And that's just the way it is. There's just not any separateness in 5D. There's nobody that's there. When we get up there, there are people with experience. So there'll be people in 5D Earth, especially in mid-range 5D, that will pop over from other planets in 4D, and everybody will visit with everybody else. And 5D Earth or Gaia will be a stopping point for entities coming down through the game to go to 3D. And they very likely could ask you about your opinion and your experience in 3D. Very likely could. And it's your choice whether to talk to them about it or not. You don't have to. They can talk to somebody else, but you can. You can share that experience you had in 3D, give advice, give your point of view, whatever you can if you want to. But it's all from a standpoint of just much more fun and exciting game. Whereas here, it's right now it's extremely intense, and yeah, nobody cares for it much. But from that perspective, it will be more fun from a game standpoint. Okay, so the last thing that she said is on that is, will a person's vibration start to become apparent physically to everyone? Okay, as I've said this before, if I could take all of you guys right now that are listening to me, and we could magically pop it back to 1802 in the middle of London, right now, if we were standing in the streets there, everybody would stop, they'd hit their knees, and they'd bow down to us. Because to them, we would look like angels. We already have changed a great deal. It's just because we hang around in the same vibration, we don't notice it. We don't notice it. And that's the way Gaia likes it. She likes to make gradual changes that don't shock and shake everybody. That's just how a good mama is. Now, as you get up into 5D higher, now the transition from going from 4D to 5D will probably not be any more noticed by you than going from 3D to 4D. Now, to Stephanie and me and some of us, going from 3D to 4D was dramatic difference. There was a dramatic drop in fear, and when we were solidly in 4D, the fear was almost gone. It was, especially intense fear, was just gone. To me, that was very noticeable. I will notice tremendously when I go from 4D to 5D. When I pop up, I notice. But it's not a visual thing so much as it's a feeling thing to me. But I don't use human eyes like the rest of you guys. So to me, I will feel and know the difference dramatically, because the higher we go, to me, the faster the dramatic changes happen. Those of you who see, Michelle is really good at seeing 5D. She will probably be a good one to report um, that she sees different, but really it has to do with your belief system. 5D is right here. It's not anywhere. You're right here. It's not, you don't have to go anywhere. So it's a matter of you believing and raising your vibration to meet it and look at it differently. So it's not different. Now when you get higher in 5D, definitely, even with my bad vision, everything is brighter, and I've talked about that. More colors, translucent. The higher you go, the brighter and more colors there are, period. Just period. Yeah, all the way across the board. And Bailey says, I had a person I know that is a wonderful, kind, humble soul tell me one day that I was glowing. He asked what was going on, and I just shrugged. I said, I'm alive, and smiled. Yes, and people who are really different from you vibrationally will see you glowing. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what's happening when a woman's pregnant. If the pregnancy is going well and she has a new life directly connected, this new data, directly connected to source still, and in that process, that additional energy will increase her vibration and will cause her to seemingly glow. And it is translated by glowing. It's very accepted. It's very believable, and but people know it. People that have never been pregnant, men who have never been pregnant, recognize pregnant women because of the way that they look. Well, that's that additional vibration of extra life that's in that woman's body. It's very true. So, will you see it? Some people won't see it at all. Some people will, if they don't believe in it, they won't see a change at all. If you're looking for it, there's a magnificent change, but it's up to you whether or not to see it or not. And it's up to the other people. So you won't be able to sit next to somebody who's in a bad mood and go, look at the tree, it's glowing, it's got light around it. And they're going to go, yeah, I can see it. No, they won't. They won't. Even if they're sitting right next to you, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to see it. They won't. That tree is glowing now. If you would believe it, you could transform yourself to 5D in a split second. You don't believe it yet. We're not there. We have stuff we're doing. But the second that we all do, then we will see the same tree, same place, different vibrations. Okay, next. Ascension symptoms. My symptoms have followed this pattern. This is Jeannie. 1111 seen everywhere since about 2012. So true with me too. Uh, Next, my teeth started to become sensitive to everything. Next, my ears, mostly left ear, very leaky, ringing, serious ear issues. Next, number sequences changed, went from one set to multiples. People say these numbers are triggers for different parts of our brain, triggering the physical changes and locking in a higher timeline. They don't lock in anything. That's human thinking. They don't lock. The trigger thing, absolutely right. Those numbers were set. Some of them are in groups, some of them are independent. We do ourselves. But all of those numbers, if you notice numbers, I don't care if they're in sequence or not. If you turn around and you notice a digital clock for a split second, that was set. You're triggered to do something. You will not figure out what it was until after you're out of here. But so what? Who cares? You couldn't stop it if you wanted to. It doesn't matter whether it's 1111, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1496.3. It does not matter. Those are set by you. There's some of them that are set at the same number, but interestingly enough, some of them, a large group will do 1111 for one reason, a large group will do 1111 for a completely different reason. It doesn't matter. It's set specifically to you by you for your own reasons. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. You won't be able to figure it out anyway. I trust me, I know. They can say what they want to say, but their simplistic, simple human brains can't even begin to understand what is being triggered by a number sequence. They'll get like tiny bit of it right. The rest of it they haven't got a clue. All of your physical senses will be affected. They will start doing weird things because you're increasing your senses. You're going from five senses to, well, at the top line of 5D, infinite senses. So that transition will have all of these things happen to you. And the soul groups are experiencing the same symptoms at the same time. I don't really know what a soul group is. There are groups, but it's not so rigid like they talk about. I mean, you'll be working with one group of entities on this thing and then another over here and another. You don't have one soul group. You're a part of many, 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 many groups. Again, so many groups doing so many things that your human brain couldn't even begin to wrap your head around it. And it's not really relevant. It will be done without you. Those things are all done without this part of you being involved in it. It's not necessary. It doesn't need this. This part is just for you to stand on this planet, walk around, and be in human form. The rest of it, this is kind of like the grounding aspect that all the rest of the energetic parts of you interacts with all the other energetic parts of everything else to get stuff done. So all of that's going to get done as long as you're standing here, whether you're a bum, whether you're dying in a hospital, whether or not you're the richest man on earth, it doesn't matter. All that stuff will get done as long as you're on this planet. The trick here is to the part that's conscious about being in this body gets through this process. Because all the rest of that will be part of you will be defractaled and up in 5D and part of your higher self way before you and this human body gets there. This is the last part. As you move up, all the rest of that will get collapsed, and this will be the last part of you that goes up, the part that's in this human body. Now, there's a whole bunch of aspects of your human bodies on a lot of timelines that all have to collapse in that process too. And all of that will collapse together. Then you guys will know, by the time you sort it all out about mid range 5D, you will understand timelines and all the multiple aspects of you when you get that far. Okay, what else? Now, and she says, now I'm starting to feel multidimensional and losing track of times at time. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. As you defractal and you collapse those timelines and those aspects, that's exactly what you feel. And depending upon how fast you're doing it, if you're doing it wicked fast, yeah, you can get really messed up on time because you could be that whole process, you're collapsing millions and millions of aspects and timelines together, and sometimes they can slip, and they can slip easily a minute or two, but it's not really hard to have slips of a day, easily a couple hours where you're off, where you go, I thought it was 4, now it's 2. I don't know what's going on. That's a collapsing, and it's a collapsing of your aspects to get to 5D. And that's also why you lose track of time, because time is collapsing as well. Feel like my higher self is integrating physically. Your higher self is in. It's actually a process of all of your physicality aspects, all of your timelines, all defractling into the higher selves all together. It's not a one process, then this process, this. It all happens whoosh whoosh together. Very, very complex. You do not have time to even try to figure this out. Just accept that that is what's happening. When you have those things happen, laugh at it, be excited about it. All you need to remember is that that means you're going in the right direction. Things are going beautifully. That this is exactly what you want. Okay. It amazes me. Can you talk about the ascension process? Well, first of all, I want y'all to know that I will use 5D and I will use ascension only because we're linear space time. But I want another disclaimer, like I frequently do, that in reality, you're not ascending anywhere, you're not going anywhere, you're standing right where you are, you're raising the vibrations and the energy level of who you are right here. You are you are it's more of a collapsing than it is an ascending, in my opinion. But the ascension process at this level where you're with me now is so fast and so complex. Um, all you need to know is that it's happening. Don't try to think it about it. Really, at this point, don't try to think about it. It will just slow you down, and you will not like it. Um, Let's see. I see number patterns a lot. Ear ringing. Yeah. Yeah. Time to me is just like crazy weird, and I don't even try anymore. I'm not even surprised anymore whenever I think it's, Monday and it's really Friday. That is happening so fast. It's even getting so I'm not even surprised when I think it's morning and it's really night. It's just that's a part of the game. We want that to happen. In 5D, we control time. Yeah, there is no linear time space unless you want there to be. So, of course, for that to be true in 5D, we have to defractal all that. So, if you stay focused on no, 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 the time must be this, 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 then you will not go to 5D. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying the process is to understand that these multiple aspects of you and of the planet and of everybody else are collapsing, that this is all collapsing down into a closer to one thing, to a different level of understanding. So you have to really disengage from all of the rules and regulations that uh, you've been taught. And that is why you can't judge. You can't judge when somebody else says, well, it's daytime, and you say, no, it's evening. And you go, then the point is, if they're one of us, you laugh about it. If you're not, you go, oh, I must have just gotten confused. You don't fight them when they're staying in their linear time space, and you can laugh and be very, very excited the more confusing it gets. The more confusing time and space become, the more issues you have with your five senses, the more you are getting like almost superpowers with your five senses, and then more things are happening, then this is all good things. And that's all you need to do. Stay in the moment. Don't think about the past or the future. Just be terribly excited about these changes because they are awesome. And they've been going on since 2012, massively. Now, for me, they're speeding up now. It's like been slow slog, 2012, a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. Now 2018, it's like end of 2018, they're wicked fast. These changes are wicked fast. But my perception of what that is, is my perception and my perception alone. Yours will be independent to you and your experience. So you can't judge that either. And it doesn't matter when you understand that time and space are an illusion. If somebody doesn't agree with yours, though, that makes sense, doesn't it? There'd be no reason to argue about it. There'd be, oh yeah, well, it's illusion. You're looking at it through this game, and I'm looking at it through this. Cool, Jewel. No harm, no foul. Whereas the ones that are in the lower vibrations, they'll be arguing forever that it's 5:01 p.m. when you've just jumped between 10 times in 10 days in the conversation that you've had over the last 30 seconds. You see how that works? Okay. Yeah, and Jeannie writes, it amazes me that many others aren't feeling ascension symptoms at all. And yeah, you can really it's really getting easy to tell who's playing what game. If they're not feeling anything, now don't assume. Don't assume. They're not feeling anything that might be because they want to stay in 4D, might be in their process of going down to 3D, might be that they're just going to pop in and out, and it might be that they're going to get it right at the last minute. So you don't, and it can be many combination of those things. So just go, oh, you're getting it. Interesting. What do you see? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? If they're not, fine. Let them play their game and find it of interest. One of the major number sequences seem to be many variations of 144. This number is also biblical, 144,000 sealed ones. How does this relate? Uh, yeah. Okay. If you are responding to 144 and zeros or one any of those combinations, as long as you're feeling good, then I wouldn't worry about it. But there is a reason for 144, and that those are pigeon numbers. They do deal with higher level 4D entities, because the ones that believe in the 144,000, when they float up to Jesus, they go over to the pigeon side. So it is related to that. If you're being triggered by 1440, whatever, and you're aware of that, then you might have it set for a different reason. But even if you were originally triggered to the 144 pigeon numbers, in awareness, you can just negate it. Doesn't matter. But the 144,000 is definitely a huge number. They did it 3 zeros to power up it because they're massive timelines with 144,000. Now, there's not actually 144,000 people, there's actually a lot more than that, but that's the number that they use to get people to believe in that timeline or those timelines so they could get the humans over to their side. Are those with his template the guides protected ones through the shift? There are no guides or protected ones on the shift to 5D. No such thing. I don't believe that, not for an instant. There are no protected ones. If you're here in human form, you've got to slog through this stuff to get to 5D. There is no one's going to guide you. No one's going to protect you. No one is going to be guided or protected. This is a one-on-one thing. Everybody has to do it on their own. If you want somebody to guide or lead you, or if you want to be a guide, you're going to have to be in the high 4Ds and below, because in 5D we're gods. We don't rely on anybody. We don't need a guide, and we don't need to help anybody. There is no need for guides, and we would not even dream of being that. So those people that are talking about guides and stuff, that's all 4D stuff. And yeah, anytime you've got any kind of conversation where there's a group that appears to be better that or leading that or whatever of another group, that is 4D. There's no such thing of any of that in 5D. No such thing. Okay, you explained of this ascension collapsing is the only one I've ever heard that makes total sense. Well, you're very welcome, Cindy. Since I don't know what everybody else is saying about collapsing and ascension, so I don't know what they're saying, but I just say what I see with the words that make sense to me, although I hate to say some of them, because ascension, it seems better than where you are. It's not better. It's just different. It's like It's like saying channel 102 on the radio dial is better than 98. That's not true. And that's what we're dealing with here. 102 has rock music and 98 has country. Neither one of them are better than the other. They're just different. And that's what we're doing here. It's not an ascension to a better place because we're better people and we figured out the game. No, it's just, we just, for whatever reason, people that are going to 5D are tired of country music and they want to listen to rock and roll. That's it. That's all. Don't make it more of a deal than it needs to be because it isn't. Uh, judges things that authentically cannot. Hmm. Okay. All right. You know, Janie, this last part, well, you've got a line here. So I'm going to assume that it's okay for me to talk about this. If I read this and you don't want this to go public, just tell me in this video. I'll leave it public. I'll leave it private on the webpage. But this is what she says, guys. I have comments on your video about the requirements to get to 5D. I found the video to be fearful. It made me fearful because you talked about having non judgment in things that I authentically cannot, to not feel empathy and compassion. I imagine this video made a lot of people feel fearful, and after much thought on this, I've come to this conclusion. The universe is not against me. No, it is not. The universe is you. Um, It knows me and my heart, and I trust and have full faith that if I am not my true authentic self, it will not mislead me. So true. Uh, Maybe this non judgment you speak of required to enter 5D will be like the emotional scale. As more things become apparent, things will naturally fall into place. And each of us will end up exactly where we are meant to be. Whether or not that is 5D doesn't really matter. It's what you come to do, so there's no fear. One could feel empathy and compassion without interfering with others. In the same way you describe 5D as non judgmental, others describe it as unconditional love, and I describe it as heaven on earth. Yeah, we're dealing with words here. Like I said, we've got limited number of words to use um, in describing things. Now, really, if you guys are being in fear of that video, I'm sorry. I would never want anybody to be in fear. But ultimately, as you go to 5D, you become non-judgmental and not compassionate and not empathetic. Just it just happens naturally. If you just do happier and happier, you'll just figure things out, and you'll be looking at something that normally you might have judged before, and you go, it's a game," and you just don't judge. It becomes very much instinctual. You'll try to be non-judgmental. You just become non-judgmental in the awareness that it's a game, and you don't become empathetic and compassionate. It becomes natural because instead of looking at the person going, "Oh, they're in such a bad shape," you immediately look at them in more of an inquisitive way. It's more of a curiosity as to how they're playing the game. So you just look at it different. When you really disengage from the game and become an outside player leaving the game, and you are a watcher instead of a player, all of those things become super easy. They really become super easy. Now, me, I'm almost 60. Believe me, I tried being compassionate and empathetic and trying to help people. It so bit me hard for a very long time, many, hundreds and hundreds of times. So it is really easy for me to step back a minute, take a look at it from an objective vibrational standpoint, reach my hand in a little bit to see if I is this a moment where you want to put our hands together and walk forward, or is this a moment where you want me to get the blank away because this is a game you've set up for a long time? Now, if somebody is in horrible life circumstance, but I can sit back and talk to their higher self and say, "Hey, is this the game you came to play?" And the higher self goes, Yes, it is. It took me 100 million years to get this circumstance set up. Do not interfere. I don't need to have compassion or empathy for that person. Why would I? I'm amazed and in awe that they would take a million lifetimes to set up such a absolutely mind-boggling difficult circumstance for the experience of it. I mean, awe, but compassion and empathy, not at all. Judgment, that's pretty much gone with me now. I don't even do judgment anymore. To me, it's instantly, if I even started, I immediately laugh at myself and go, it's just a game. Why in the world would I ever judge a game? That's silly. That's just doesn't even make any sense. So to me, it becomes very easy. It just goes with the rest of it. And you just start doing it just easy. And the more you can telepathically communicate with other beings, the less empathy you have too. The less compassion you have because they're going, no, I'm good. I'm fine. So you reach out with your telepathy and you go, do you need assist? And they go, no, I'm good. Leave me alone. And you go, cool. There's no empathy or compassion needed. Now, unconditional love, I don't even think people on this planet know what that means. I know they use it, but I don't think they know what it means. So I'm not going to use that because I think they're clueless about what that really is. And 5D um, has unconditional love, but it's no big deal. Here it's a big deal. There it's not. It's just different. Whenever you start to telepathically or vibrationally communicate with beings, you lose the judgment, you lose the empathy, you lose the compassion because you understand what they're doing. And you immediately understand it completely. So there is no need for this long drawn out judgment, compassion, empathy. That's for other players to play with them, but it won't be you. But it'll be quick, it'll be easy. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's very easy. Yeah, Michelle, everybody is playing their own game, but those of us who don't want to play in those lower vibes anymore, you simply really a lot of it comes with telepathy. A lot of it comes with telepathy because you will know using telepathy as you learn that, you will know whether or not somebody is going to be one that hold your hands to go to 5D or whether they'll wave at you and say, no, I'm good. I'm going this way. And from the higher self perspective, there is no emotion revolving around that. There's no need to be compassionate or empathetic or judgmental or anything. You just simply know. It's slick. It's easy. You go, hey, you want to help? Nope, going this way. All right, see you later. No big deal. No big deal. There's no emotional response required for that communication at all. As people die, as animals die, you say, hey, you're on your way out. Are you good? And they go, yeah, I'll see you on the other side. Cool. A lot of those negative emotions die away when you understand the games they're playing and that they're fine. It's like people who have dead people in their lives. When they talk to a psychic or whatever, and the psychic says, hey, they say they're good, and the person feels better. Well, you will begin to know for your own self that these people are fine and you'll understand it from a much higher level, then there's no need to worry about it. I mean, the most god awful things you'll figure out. It'll just natural. It just happens. Like breathing. Don't worry about it. Guys are spending too much time worrying about stuff that doesn't matter. Um, yeah, like I said, and the faster we go, the more happier and happier is the important part. Happier and happier and happier and happier. Because we're moving so fast. If you stop and have a long discussion with somebody over whether or not you should be compassionate or empathetic because of this person, oh man, you've lost a bunch of time. You lost a bunch of ground. And when you realize that you have, and you look around and you go, damn, I just I just lost 10,000 jumps. And that's 10,000 jumps of 1 billion each. When you realize that, you go, oh, and you start really feeling that difference, that drag, then all of a sudden you're going, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. So that's the reason why I tell you guys operate with the understanding that every single person and every single being is a creator God just like you. They're just as good as you are. They're just as smart as you are. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And when you truly understand that, then the rest of it becomes easy. It's a game. We're gods. We got this. And ultimately, we're all one. We're all one. And we know what we're doing. Okay? Okay, let's see, Michelle. I come from a place of love, happy peace, rainbows. Excellent, Kim. Looks like the good guy traits are much harder for people to let go of. It's a conditional thing, just like habits. You're right, Stephanie. They really are. The good guy traits seem like they're having a lot of trouble. Maybe it's just because we're with higher vibrational people right now, but the good guys are having trouble letting go of those traits. Hey, I understand. I was a good guy. I was the one that went out and saved and helped everybody. I was on point all the time to look for people who who needed help. I was a nurse for crying out loud. I was deep. I was knee deep. I was neck deep. I was nose deep. I was eye deep in compassion and empathy and helping people and all that stuff. I get it. I understand. But ultimately, there is no need for that. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everyone's a god. Everyone's playing their own game. They got this. And you're even if you miss one, let's say that I am tootling along in my own little world and I pass somebody and I reach out and I get it wrong. Let's just say I get it wrong. And actually, when I reached out, I read, no, I got this. And what they really wanted was to hold my hand. If I miss it, so what? There'll be somebody right behind me that will get it and will reach their hand. You're not indispensable here in what I'm saying. So if you miss the chance of doing it right with somebody, don't worry about it. That God will get somebody else that will come in and do it right. It's okay. It's no big deal. We're all in this together. There's no wrong, there is no right. You can't get it right or wrong. It's just experience. So if you want to stay and be compassionate and empathetic and shoot, even judgmental, that's fine with me. Really, it's fine with me. I'm just saying that at certain levels, those things are no longer there. So if you want to go there, then these things don't exist. Now, are there endless levels in between? Sure. Are all of them absolutely perfect places to be? Sure. There's nothing to fear. You will do it exactly the way you're supposed to. You can't get it wrong. I am just saying, and my videos are really very specific, and I think I've made this pretty clear. I am on my way specifically to a certain place. I am going from here to Alaska. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with you getting in a car or a plane or a train or a horse or a buggy and going to somewhere else. Please do enjoy it. I'm sure it'll be a wonderful trip. What I'm saying is my videos are my trip to 5D. And that's all it is my trip. And I can tell you exactly what vibrations are in 5D at which point and what you get in response to that. So if you want no negative vibes, if you want a world with no negative vibes, then I try to explain to you that not all the vibes that you've been taught were good. And when they're played out in 5D, they would be considered bad. That's all. That's all. They just aren't allowed up there. If you want to play in those vibrations, by all means, guys, um, shoot, I don't care. The second I get out of 5D, I'm going to be in now time and I'll be with all of you. I have no problem with everybody. Shoot, you can stay long term human, go back to the 3D planets. I don't care. I'm leaving time space. I'm leaving this, but you guys can stay and play around in here anywhere you want. Doesn't matter. When I get out, I'll instantly be in time, in now time. I'll have access to all of you guys in that moment. No matter how long you decide to play in the game, in now time, we have instant access. So my videos are simply try not to cross them over with other new agers because there's not a judgment to me on any way. I'm telling you where I'm going. I'm going there for a specific reason because I don't like any of this stuff down here. But that doesn't mean you can't. There's nothing wrong with you guys enjoying it. Stay wherever you want. You get to a certain level and you like it, stay and play. Good for you. I'm leaving. But I'll see you soon enough. It's not that big a deal. We're all one. Seriously. But don't you guys be in fear. Please don't be in fear. But yeah, there's just no compassion or empathy or judgment or any of that in 5D. But by the time you get close to there, you will have some kind of success with telepathy. And when you do telepathy, all of this makes a lot more sense because it's really easy. And even when you start being really good at talking to higher selves, because once you can talk to your higher self, it's much easier to pop over and talk to like Kim's higher self or Michelle's higher self than it is even to talk to them in person. Much easier to talk to their higher selves. So if you're curious as to whether or not you should reach out and be compassionate or empathetic towards someone, ask your higher self, then go ask the higher self of the person involved. That's that's what I would do. Now, if I was going to do any of that, which I'm not, but if you want to do that, that's the way I would do it. But for goodness sakes, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. I've always said that, and I will support it. Um, yeah, I don't. I really wish that people wouldn't get upset about just the transition from one to the other. There's a lot of good things about 4D. A lot of good things. You can play that game a lot. I don't want to play, but I don't like it here. But there's a lot of beings that are from a lot of other places that you might enjoy it a great deal. It might be really, really, really fun. Okay. So if you get to a place that you like, by all means stay. Don't get it so rigid in your head. I gotta go to 5D, I gotta go to 5D. I know because I've been there, I've seen it. I know what the different stages are. If you don't know what those are, just be open to the trip. Who knows? You might find a place you really like. Just stay and play, guys. Happier and happier, no matter what that is. I'm just telling you where I'm going. And I'm moving pretty much to 5D to get to mid 5D so I can leave the game. That's pretty much what I'm doing. I think pretty much what um, Steph's doing too. So yeah, yeah. And Stephanie says this. I want to slap people that throw compassion my way. It hurts like hell. Yeah, sympathy, empathy, compassion. The vibrations of those to me now is extremely painful. Extremely painful. So if you were sending those vibrations to someone who was in the middle of a game where they wanted to be intense and head down, they would fight back. Somebody who's a higher vibration, it is very painful to us, and we would shy away from that as well. I don't really have to worry about that anymore. I'm kind of past that. I can avoid all of those vibrations now. Certainly, I got them at the beginning a year ago when I started these. I had to sort through a lot of compassion. Every time I did a video that was, shoot, I said it was in a trailer and I got hit with sympathy, empathy, compassion. It was very painful. When I first did the videos, almost shut me down. I would say within probably 2 or 3 months was dealing with those vibrations from people that they felt sorry for me. Um, yeah, those are not, they don't feel good. Feel very bad. I don't like them. But I learned to deal with them, and that was advantageous for me because now anybody can send those vibrations to me, and they just blow right by me. They don't hurt me anymore. So, and I don't think the people that are empathetic and compassionate and even sympathetic, they're not doing it to hurt people. They don't understand that it's a part of the game, and that it's a part of 3D, and that it's really quite painful. But you know what? All of that will happen in its own time, in its own way, as it was meant to. As it was meant to. That's how things are done. And there's no judgment in that either. Uh, See you later, Michelle. Love ya. Oh my gosh. Shelly, take lots of pictures. You're going by yourself to Peru. That is awesome. Lots of pictures. Seriously, lots of pictures. Have fun, Shelly. All right, guys. See you later, Mario. Bye, Kim. Bye, Shelly. Bye, Michelle. Bye, Michelle and Shelly. Michelle and Shelly. Michelle and Shelly. All right. Bye, G Man, if you're still here. Anybody else that was here that didn't talk. I love you bunches. And yeah, I'll see you later. Bye now.